Hi guys, my name is Jessica, and on social media, I'm known as Jessiboo. You can actually follow me on both of my handles on TikTok and Instagram. Jessiboo, three S's, three I's, three O's. I am a beauty content creator. I actually like to showcase my life. I do also work a 9 to 5, so I like to showcase the balance of doing both the social media life as well as also working for the county. And I hope today that you guys can take something relatable and maybe help you guys heal a little bit too.
Have you ever been in a relationship that you feel like has affected doing social media or even your whole your beauty side of the social media?
Yes, definitely. I can think about two relationships, both that affected me positively, and another one that actually affected me negatively. So we're gonna start off with the good one first. I feel like the relationship that impacted me positively was, having the support, and also having, like the person like hype you up and really believe in your potential and believe in your dreams. Ever since I was a little girl, I've just always loved, glamming, being in front of the camera, taking pictures, sharing people, kind of my style. So I have had that side of it, but also negatively was this past relationship where, there are people out there that don't want to, see you succeed. They don't want you to like outdo them, or they don't want to share, maybe like their connects, or they don't want to share kind of like their insights. I'm talking in a sense because the person that I was with was actually an influencer as well, very known one too. So it's like, how are you going to share those tactics with others? That's not like your partner, right? So I feel like now that I'm outside of that relationship, I feel like I've been glowing. I've been fulfilling my dreams. I've been having full circle moments with like artists and doing the music videos and doing the red carpets and, doing the brand deals and, showcasing the outfits that I'm being sent, working with huge makeup brands like ColourPop Cosmetics or Miele's or, the brands that I see in Ulta. It's like a full circle moment for me to see that I am working with them now. So I feel like having the right person by your side, and not just the right person, but the environment too, will, guide you to basically fulfill your dreams. Because remember, there's people out there that want to see you do good, but never want to see you do better than them. So unfortunately, I was in that situation with a partner. I'm not there yet. I mean, I'm not there anymore. So now we're here.
What are three red flags that you can get from somebody that you will cut them off because you know that they will impact what you have going on with your career?
That is a great question. um, that's a great question. I feel like there's a few. The first one definitely is seeing how they treat others. In the media life, you hear a lot where it says, "Don't believe everything that you see on social media." That is 1,000% true. I feel like I've had experiences where I see how others treat others. I see how others portray others. I see how people talk about others, and it's like if they can do that to others, they can definitely do it to me. Also, I feel like if we're talking about maybe like work ethic, I feel like punctuality, commitment, and also responsibility is a huge one too. And the third one is just a vibe. I have to just basically get a sense of a good vibe with you to basically, keep you around my circle. Luckily, I want to say I got blessed with amazing friends, both in and out social media, that I feel like I can, grow with. But I feel like definitely the third one, I'd say like the vibe. Depends on the vibe I catch. Yeah, but if I catch like that you give me bad vibes, definitely not.
What is a certain situation that emotionally drained you from your focus?
Oh my God. I'm like, where do I start? Um, for example, I was in a 3-year relationship and it was so, so bad to the point where, the whole anxiety, the whole not sleeping, the whole just being very on top of what they were doing constantly because of all the damage, mentally that that person did to me, I feel like it kind of deterred me away from, the grind and keeping on top of, my focus and my goals and what I had to do and meet the deadlines and also basically network. So I feel like because of all the damage that I lived through with that person, it deterred me away from, fulfilling my dreams, constantly being on top of them, like what they're doing. Why are they going MIA? If they had a gig, not texting me back. I know what time like they'd be home or they'd say they call or, but sadly, people are bad people. People are mean.
Was jealousy a big thing in that relationship?
Yes. So you know how they say that like an ex or like a partner is doesn't go crazy just because. I definitely am 100% believer in that because there's a reason why someone acts out of character. There's a reason why someone stops being who they really are authentically. There's a reason why people, go crazy, or there's a reason why people start dealing with anxiety. There's a reason why people are constantly like on your ass, right? And it's because their partner probably did something to them that was very damaging to them. Like I can literally sit here and write you a book of everything that I've experienced, in that really bad toxic relationship that turned me into a person that I wasn't. I never want to go back to that version of me, and I like this version of me.
And what was the last straw where you knew that you needed to take a step away to focus on you?
I love this question. Those Okay, we're gonna go deep. We're gonna go deep into it. So I'm just basically just gonna give this spiel of what was like the last thing that I just couldn't take. I feel like during those 3 years, it's crazy because you can tell someone to leave, to leave, to leave, but I feel like if you haven't experienced it yourself, to be in a position where you're dealing with someone who is like constantly brainwashing you, who's constantly like manipulative, I feel like nowadays the whole narcissism is very like cliche and common to say, but you have to live those things in order for you to um you know you can't just tell someone to leave. You have to experience it for yourself to understand why that person can't or couldn't leave. So my last straw to leave that relationship was basically the person was at a gig and I already knew that the routine was, constantly get drunk, go MIA, do things, maybe with others that you shouldn't, be too flirty, basically like disrespect me, right? So that night, this person, well, first and foremost, let me say this, okay? I'm not bashing anybody. I just want to tell my story and kind of relate it to the things that I have learned in therapy, to basically give the best version that I am today. So basically, my last straw was a person had a gig, went MIA, and then called me maybe like at 3 a.m., super drunk. And in my heart, I just knew something was wrong. I heard, a call come in through her Bluetooth, and I thought it was really weird because it was already 3 a.m. And I just knew in my gut something was off. So then after that, she was going to stay over her grandma's house, and her aunt and her cousin told me that they would let me know when they got there. They never did. I'm going crazy, with anxiety. I didn't sleep that whole night. Luckily, I didn't have work the next day. Blowing her up, crying, can't sleep, anxiety with that pit in your stomach. Basically like just like I don't even know how to explain it. Just I was just really bad. I just knew something was wrong. So turns out that she was actually chilling with her ex inside the grandma's house, and picked her up. And the reason why I found out was because again, I just knew something was wrong. And so once I picked her up from the grandma's house, okay, it was a whole hour drive. She was still pretty late. And then so we get to her house and she goes into the bathroom. I jump over, I grab her phone. And usually I feel like the universe and God literally wanted me to see it. She usually has her phone on lock. And and I just grab it and I see the ex-girlfriend's last name, and I go to the bathroom and I literally tell her like, "Why is your ex-girlfriend messaging you? It's literally 7 a.m., okay?" And I just swipe, and then the message just basically says, "Thank you for staying with me tonight." That was my last straw, and it wasn't that either, that whole incident of me, finding that out. But it was also now, looking back, it was also me acting out of character. I'm talking about like it was crazy that morning. It was crazy, So that was basically my last straw. And I feel like, when you're in those types of situations, you beg and you plead and you ask God and you ask the universe to tell you or send you signals of how to leave and take me out of here. But I feel like I just never listened, and I kept, giving the opportunity, and it is true. Like every single time that you allow someone, you forgive someone to do that, you're basically telling them, hey, I'm going to always forgive you. You can constantly continue to hurt me. So that was my last straw. So ladies or men, learn from me, learn from me.
Do you feel like you fully healed from that relationship, or there's still stuff that you have with you that you've taken that you're still working on?
Yeah, so that's an amazing question. So I want to make it clear that I am over that person. I'm just not over. I'm still working through the emotions that I felt. So the best way that I could explain it is basically my biggest fear at one point was to basically like maybe like pass away drowning or burning or gasping for air. Now my biggest fear is going back to. Oh my God, sorry, I'm a cry. Now my biggest fear is going back to the person that I was when I was in that relationship. When I tell you that I became this ugly like person to the point where literally that day when I caught that person, um literally that day when I caught that person, things that when I caught that person, I luckily I have amazing friends. They took me out, and then later on that day, she was out, portraying like this other girl, and being flirty with with heart emojis, and all this. Like if she didn't hurt me, like if she didn't just do something so damaging to me, to the point where literally like I didn't think I would see like the next day. Like it was so bad, so bad. So yeah, I'm still going through like the feelings, of just always pushing forward. And, the things that I have endured from therapy have been so amazing. I just never want to go back to that version of me where, I hated myself, my lack of confidence, I have major trust issues. I'm only a year almost single, and to me that's really important, to um basically fill my own cup with a lot of self-love, and when you go through things like, you know, I guess like cheating, or you see like your partner disrespect you in front of your face, or you have your partner telling you I don't want to be with you, and then you're begging and begging and begging and saying like, come on, we could make it work, like I love you, and whatever, you cut ties, and then the next day they're like, oh, just kidding, I miss you, I want to make it work. Or also like experiencing things like, don't wear this, don't wear that. Or, like, for example, it's very specific. I'm a heel girl. I love heels, so that makes me feel cute, confident, and social media. Like, I take a lot of pictures, I like to look cute. And having someone who's telling you, like, don't wear heels, and kind of taking like who you are, like something so simple, it's something so big. So I feel like I'm still learning to work through those emotions. And a lot of them also like stems from, childhood, and I feel like that's just with everybody. So I feel like everybody should look into therapy, okay? But also, having things from like childhood, and then you have like such a relationship, that's so traumatic. And and now you're outside of it and you look at it like, I can look back and say like, damn, I am such a different person today than I was when I was in that relationship. And I'm just so proud of myself, and the journey that I've taken to be who I am today.
Now, when you were in that relationship, what are some things you were doing where you didn't even recognize yourself anymore?
I was begging. I was looking into validation from that person because that person just had so much control over me. Um, like it was, it's some of, for example, some of the comments were like, would you ever think about getting a boob job or a nose job, and it's like, whoa, like you're supposed to love me for like who I am, right? So definitely the lack of self-confidence, being so miserable all the time. When usually, like, as you can see, I'm always smiling, always happy. I feel like that's just who I genuinely am. So, having those nights at home when you're like crying constantly that no one sees, um, it just I just definitely became like a sad, oh my God, here I go again. I definitely became such a sad person. Like, for example, one of the exercises that I did in therapy was um going through my photos, right? My social media photos on Instagram. And it's like, from then, from the moment that I left that relationship to previously, I have a story I can tell you where I was either crying before that photo or a fight before that photo or crying after the photo or a fight after the photo. So definitely just like that just became like a very sad person, and definitely allowing someone to basically have the control over my self-worth, like, just think I would say that overall just became a very, very sad person internally. But outside, of course, social media, it's like I'm happy and, just always happy person.
If you could pick yourself up off the floor a year ago, what would you tell yourself when you were sitting there crying and begging?
A quote that I really, really love is "You can't heal where you got sick." So, yeah. So, and I think I would literally tell myself like, well, I stopped going to therapy because, my therapy sessions would be, I'm done with this person, I'm back with this person, I'm done with this person, I'm back with this person. So I actually took a long break. So I would definitely tell myself like, you need to hit up Homegrown Ingrid. Shout out to my therapist. You need to hit up, your therapist and start your sessions again. And I feel like had I maybe been in therapy, I would have probably left the relationship longer. But again, I lack that self love. I literally let all my self love go because I gave it to somebody. So definitely, you can't heal where you got sick, and for sure would have um, not left my therapy sessions.
Would you ever be with another influencer moving forward?
That's great. Okay, so I feel like yes. I feel like yes because they understand what comes with it. So for example, there's going to be late nights. There's going to be times where you can't have a plus one. There's going to be times where you're going to be surrounded by the same sex or the different sex, right? So I feel like the influencers understand what that world is, but then also I've also dated like a few people that are not in the media world that don't like media either, and they don't understand it. So I feel like I'm not opposed to it. I just want to find a good partner.
Why do you think people stay when they know their spouse hurts them so much?
Um, Maybe it could be related back to how you grew up. Maybe, for example, I think I could somewhat relate to the question. I'm gonna use my example just because everyone's situation is different. So, for example, growing up, I have two my mom and dad, right? They were both grew up with very strict parents, rancho life. I'm talking about like my grandma was having children and then the children were taking care of the children while they were popping out more children. So I feel like both of their upbringings were very hard. So a lot of my validation issues, I guess you can say, comes from, my mom giving me that tough love the way that she knew how to. So, for example, I could give you straight A's when, I could give you straight A's, but then you get that U and then the comment, you talk too much, right? Then here would come the comments, oh, like my relationship with my mom is amazing now, okay? Again, therapy. She's definitely not like this, but my mom would call me like out of my name a lot, or for simple things like not taking out the trash, or, getting the U, or not meeting her standards, Latina household cleaning list, right? Because, since you're like a little girl, it's common in the Latina households to learn how to clean, right? So if I wasn't meeting her standards, get called out of my name, or just like being talked down to, right? Again, my mom, tough love. That's how she grew up. So that's how it's like generational, right? So I feel like, again, talking about my perspective, right? So I experienced that growing up. Again, my relationship now with my mom is amazing. I love her. We express emotions and feelings towards each other now in a healthy way. Um, so I feel like my cycle that I've learned in my patterns of relationships is, for one, they always fuck me over and I stay and I forgive. Or for two, I'm always like trying to prove myself to somebody as to why they should date me, right? That's totally bad. You can't, like, if you have to force something, it's not for you. You shouldn't force anybody to fall in love with you or have to prove yourself to anybody as to why they should choose you. You should be chosen, because they want they want to choose you. You shouldn't have to prove yourself to anybody as to why they should choose you. Does that make sense? Even though I know, in the beginning stages of talking, you want to portray and show out that you're an amazing person, great. But you should never force anybody to be with you. So I feel like in this relationship, I was seeking a lot of validation. Again, maybe lack of self love. Because when I met this person, I was already in therapy. Then, and my therapist always tells me this. You literally, when you met this person, you would tell me that you know that you shouldn't put your 2 feet in, but you still did, and look at the outcome, right? So I kind of already knew. But again, validation, right? I just really like this person a lot, and they had the control over me and basically what my own confidence looked like. So I feel like for me, it was kind of more of a cycle that kind of stirred from childhood, that maybe seeking the validation of always being perfect for my mom, kind of portrayed into being perfect for this ex-partner, but also for my previous relationships, since it has been a pattern that I learned in therapy that I have like this issue with.
So if you could say one raw truth to your ex and they could hear it, what would you say?
Oh my god. um that's great. Thank you for serving your purpose in life. No, thank you for serving your purpose in my life. I'm better without you now. A few of the things that I did to basically help myself overcome that bad, version I was, or I became in that very toxic environment of relationship, was that same day I reached out to my therapist and I told her I need you. I am so grateful for the friends that I have. I feel like my circle is very tight and they genuinely love me. My family, my sister, especially that day when I literally like thought I wasn't gonna see the next day, she was there literally wiping my tears for me. And definitely a lot of journaling and doing things that are like healthy. Like, for example, I started going back to the gym. I started, journaling. And the main thing that I did was basically write that person that hurt me letters of what I was feeling, how her actions hurt me. To me, that was very powerful. It kind of helped me kind of take back my own power, and obviously I didn't want to tell her, but that really helped me, and start, posting and start, doing the things that I love again, and also I started being more focused in my work. I do work for the county, so there was times where I couldn't even focus on my work or be so sufficient in my work because I was so busy, occupied mentally, with this person and, going crazy in my own head, making up scenarios and all this craziness, and so memory fog and all this crazy stuff. So definitely, therapy, being surrounded by the people that actually genuinely love you, picking up healthy habits, and right now I feel like I'm finally, like, it literally maybe took me 28 years of my life to learn how to become intimate with myself, but in a way that's I'm genuinely getting to know myself. Who Jessica is, what she really likes, how to set those boundaries, how to respect those boundaries. And yeah, it's just I really, really always have to owe it to therapy. I feel like therapy was definitely a guidance to my life today. And I feel like when you're good with yourself, everything around you is going to basically be good with you.
And what are some myths about therapy that you want to break?
You're not crazy if you're going to therapy. Like I said, I feel like everyone should try it at one point in their life. I started therapy because the partner that I was with started seeking it herself. I went in there with the intention of how can I become the best girlfriend for my partner that is dealing with her own trauma that stemmed from her childhood. Little did I know that I was, going to benefit from it in a very positive way too. So I feel like you're not crazy if you're seeking therapy. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And you just never know. You might become the best version of yourself.
And if you were to hear somebody tell you, I don't want to talk to somebody I don't know. I don't want somebody I don't know to know my business. What would you tell them?
That sometimes it's great to hear not advice. I want to say more guidance from someone that has practiced, the whole therapy because I feel like for the most part, sometimes it could be very biased from people that know you. For example, it took my therapist one whole year to crack me. I would not open up. I mean, meaning how I grew up with like my mom. I feel like the best way that I would always explain it's like when you throw something metal to metal and it just repels, it doesn't break. That's basically how I was with emotions. So I feel like you have to allow yourself the opportunity to talk to someone who is a professional at that work, and basically allow yourself to take what you have in therapy and apply it to your real life in order for it to work. If you're already going in with the mentality of something like negative when it comes to the topic of, talking to a therapist, I mean, I understand it, but you won't basically see, I guess, like the results or the benefit of therapy unless you allow yourself to basically open up the can of worms and dig deep into the root of the problem. And that's how you know your therapist is great. She's gonna or he is gonna like dig um deep into the root of the problem and guide you on how to fix it and to make you aware of your traumas and your bad pattern habits, to basically allow you to guide you to the best version of yourself.
What is a pattern you saw more often in women that you didn't experience with men?
Oh my God. Okay, so I was actually talking about this with my therapist. So, yes, I've dated both genders, men and women, but somehow, and again, I feel like it stems from childhood, somehow I get more emotionally like distraught or become more emotionally like broken whenever I have dated women than men. Something that we did notice is that yes, I've also been in heartbreaks with men, but it was a little bit easier for me to move on from that. But when it came to the woman side of it, very much harder and more distraught.
Who made you feel more safer emotionally, a woman or a male in your past experience?
I'd say woman. I mean it's kind of contradicting, right? But I feel like women. So I feel like with women, it's more like maybe a little bit more on the gentle side. I feel like since we are women, we kind of understand each other a little bit better than men. I feel like with men, it's a little bit more too like aggressive or more too like aggressive. But I feel like with women, it's a little bit more like gentle. Does that make sense? And again, I feel like people might hear this and be like, what the hell is she talking about? But I feel like you have to experience it in order to understand that.
Do you feel like a woman broke your heart worse than a man, or do you feel like it came more from the male side?
I have had some crazy experiences, both genders, okay? I feel like they're both hand on hand, but I feel like definitely this past relationship was my hardest heartbreak, but I feel like what I've experienced with both, getting my heart broken, I feel like they're just like the same. I have trust issues because of that.
If somebody asked you to be in a relationship today, do you feel like you are healed enough to be like, okay, yes, I'm ready? Or do you still feel like you're at a state where you're like, no, like I'm not ready, like I have more self-healing?
Yeah. I feel like I feel like I'm not ready yet. I am enjoying my single life. I love my life right now. I couldn't tell you that, like a year ago, but I genuinely love my life today. I love me a lot today, and I feel like I'm in the right direction. And I feel like I just want to make sure that the next person that does have me gets like the best version of me too. And I feel like I'm still working towards that. But I'm also not opposed to like dating. I feel like you just never know when you're gonna meet your person. But I feel like right now I'm okay alone.
So you're currently not dating. That's good. Like that's good.
Pero si me
Thank you for
invitan, yo voy.
I'm sure everybody wants to know, what are your future goals, plans, anything in your life that is just a goal for you to succeed after this chapter closes?
So one of my biggest goals is I have my BA in criminology, but I don't know what I want to do with it yet. So one of my biggest goals is definitely finding a career path within my degree. Hopefully, find my right person and have like our own home, maybe kids. I don't know, not 100% on that. And doing bigger projects in the media world, maybe music videos, but with huge artists. And maybe starting my own brand or own business. I feel like that would be one of fulfillments of goals that I have. So there's actually three quotes that I feel like I live by in my daily life, that I have picked up on when, doing the self development. The first one, it was actually a quote that I picked up on way back when MySpace it was even a thing, which was good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good gets better and your better gets best. The other one that I literally live by is choosing your hard. For example, let's say that you are, I'm gonna use me, okay? Let's say that you are wanting to have like your dream body, right? But you're constantly not eating healthy, you're constantly, drinking, you're constantly doing like, putting things in your body that you shouldn't have, but you're always complaining that you want that body, or you don't fit in certain clothes and you don't like how you look. Well, it's like choosing your heart. Are you gonna choose the heart to get your butt into the gym and work out? Or are you going to continue to choose the hard where you're eating unhealthy and you're doing all the things opposite from like fulfilling your goal in the gym? The other last one is one that I mentioned earlier is you can't heal where you got sick. That one, I can say that it's like my most favorite quote and something that I really take, into consideration. For me personally, having, lived something, so traumatic when it came to like relationship wise. For example, if you continue to give that person, the opportunity to hurt you and hurt you and hurt you and hurt you, but you are, always saying that you want to be happy and you're wishing for, an amazing relationship and you're romanticizing, that amazing relationship. Well, how do you expect to heal where you got sick? How do you expect to have that and experience that while being in the relationship that broke you, for example?
I can't wear this, I can't do that. Can I still be a content creator with so many insecure boundaries?
That's a tough question to answer, but I feel like 1000% yes. However, I feel like if you are trying to pursue anything in life and you have a partner that's constantly dragging you down, again, telling you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't wear this, you can't, why are you taking pictures in that outfit, or whatever the case may be. If someone is throwing those things at you, but you really want to become, like, let's say, a content creator, I feel like, again, those are their insecurities that they're portraying onto you that are pulling you back from fulfilling one of your goals. I feel like you need to change the whole partner in general. You should have someone by your side that's, encouraging, maybe even taking your pictures, or maybe even doing helping you create the content. And you never know, maybe you guys can do it together. I feel like, two is more. But I feel like if you have someone that's constantly, dimming your lights and not allowing you to grow in those opportunities, you need to change your partner all in one.
How does it feel when you finally do have that support? Like, how do you feel like a woman could just bloom?
I It's like a natural high. I am so grateful for the support that I have now from my friends, family, and the people that I've met in media. I feel like I've never had so much love and support that I do now, and it just makes me hungrier for more. For example, like seeing people that are genuinely happy for me, genuinely proud, even strangers, that, like, for example, last night I had a girl literally tell me, like, "Oh, you're Jessiboo, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh my God, you're so pretty. Like, I follow your content. Like, I love your outfits." It makes me feel so fulfilled. That makes me want to just keep going for more. And in the media life, it's crazy because things just literally happen out of nowhere, and last minute too. And that's like the exciting thing of it as well. But it makes me hungrier for more to keep pushing.
What would you tell a person that was telling their partner, "What do you need all that attention for?" Where do you think that that comes from? Do you think it's jealousy? Do you think it's insecurity? Like, what would you tell people who think like that social media is like an attention thing, or they're seeking validation off of social media, but other people look at it more as like a job, like, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is a job, this is work, this is a passion of mine." There's two different mindsets. What would you tell the
Yeah.
opposite?
Yeah, so I feel like if you're doing everything in a respectful manner, your partner and your partner is choosing to be with you, right? If your partner is choosing to be with you and they know what you come with, what you do, which is, like, for example, like, let's say, the social media,
I've just seen
no,
people do
yeah.
that, like, I've seen somebody get excited, like, "Oh my god, I got, like, 800 likes on my post," and the partner's just like, "Why do you care? Like, it's just social media." You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. So, for example, for me to be like, "Damn it, my outfit's probably popping in that picture better than the one I posted yesterday." That would be my take on it.
Mhm.
And you see that that's something that I learned too, is like, again, because for some reason I tend to meet people and get in relationships with people that have like popularity, and my therapist is like, Why do you think that happens?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just meet people and they're just like popularity, whether they do media or whether they don't, or whatever the case may be. They're just people that are like popular or that are known, but I don't go seeking for it. It just, I feel like, because I just gravitate towards that. But ever since I was a little girl, I've always been like recording myself and, coqueta and all that stuff. So I always tell my mom, it's like, I feel like I manifested this life for me. And now it's just, I get paid for it. Again, we can go back and talk about like the validation aspect of it. It's something, again, that it was a concern like in therapy too, where it's like, am I doing it for validation? But no, I genuinely love it. So I'm like, I could go like
Yeah,
many routes with that
I
question.
could see where people could mix the 2, but I feel like it's
Yeah.
more of a passion and it's more of
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
if you're in a relationship, do you think you would post your significant other on social media?
I would. I would, but maybe after like a period of time. Just because you never know where the relationship can go, if it's going to work out or not. But of course, if I'm dating someone that's in the media, it's going to be kind of a given, since we'll probably be at the same events together. But I definitely feel like I would hold off, but practically make it known I'm in a relationship, but not show off my partner until like I make sure that we're like solid you know
How would you feel if you were with somebody who didn't believe in that? If they're an influencer and they don't believe in posting you or their partnership on social media?
I would feel some type of way. I would feel some type of way because I want to be shown off too. I obviously don't post, like, I wouldn't want to share the relationship to the world right off the bat. Again, give it some time, but I feel like even after like some time, like if we've been together for a year and like you're not posting me, it's kind of like, well, like, what are we missing here? You know what I mean? But I would want to be posted. I feel like that would be kind of like a red flag, like something's not right here.
So how would you deal with having a partner and you guys both are influencers? So that means you guys have so many DMs, flirting people, knowing that you guys are like trying, like obviously you guys are in a relationship. Like how do you deal with that being influencers? Do you guys just ignore everything, or is it more just like, do you feel like blocking is a thing? So let's just say you have somebody and they have like 20 DMs from 20 different girls. Do you expect them to block them or just ignore them? How do you feel about that?
I feel like just ignore. At the end of the day, there's people that genuinely like, maybe like people follow people for a reason, right? Like if I love fashion, so I follow a lot of girls that have a lot of fashion sense that I love. So if I have a partner and there are a lot of DMs in there and they're like risky DMs and they're like talking shit about, like, let's say me or whatever the case may be, the DMs, right? As long as my partner is not being disrespectful, like about me or to me, then I don't care. I would expect my partner to ignore it and vice versa. Feel like at that point, I feel like I would have so much trust in my partner to be with them, one, and for two, for them to, not fuck me over and reply back to those DMs or entertain them.
So do you believe in like thank yous, thank you so much, I appreciate you? Like, do you believe in those? So like if a woman is writing to your partner saying like, hey, like I love your content, you look so good, but still having like a flirty impact, right? Like, do you believe that it's okay for your partner to say thank you or to ignore it?
I feel like definitely say thank you. I feel like someone is gonna go as far as you let them. Even to this day, I have DMs where I know when someone's being flirty and I know when someone's being genuine, but I'm always showing gratitude because at the end of the day, the people that watch you and support you are basically the people that do make you. So definitely be grateful and show gratitude, but know like your limit for sure. Or even sometimes when like the DM may be kind of crazy or wild, but they're still showing like, support or, just genuosity, even though they're still maybe like flirting. Sometimes I'll just like it and just reply back with like a heart. It just depends what vibe I get. I feel like as a girl, I feel like as no, not as a girl. I feel like in general, well, sometimes DMs can be, you can read them and then be misleading, but I feel like reading a DM, you kind of sense the vibe of what their intentions were, you know? So I feel like that's how we can differentiate whether someone's being genuine or whether someone's trying to be genuine with a little, extra sauce on top. To conclude, today, well, first and foremost, I hope that, I was able to relate to some of you guys. The grass is always greener on the other side. And, if you're in a very, bad environment, but you know that you have so much potential, don't be afraid to ask for help. But I kind of want to end it on this point, right? So, everyone on media knows me as Jessiboo, but obviously I'm Jessica. So Jessica is now a person that is, on her healing journey, surrounded by so much love, has a genuine friends. I work a 9 to 5 still, was still fulfilling my dream as Jessiboo, continuing in the social media life. Jessica is a very hardworking woman, very loving. I feel like, charisma, always positive, always smiling. And, Jessie Boo is, this fashionista girl that, basically just showing empowerment and showing that you could find the balance with anything that you want to do in life. Feel like I was blessed with being able to fulfill my BA in criminology, which I've always been passionate about, and fulfill now my fashion passion that I'm fulfilling now with media, red carpets, and music videos. So definitely the sky is the limit. I feel like right now where I can say that Jessiboo, or something that I really want to focus on with Jessiboo is, I being in that toxic environment led me to gain weight, girl. Let me tell you. So right now I'm in the journey to the weight loss and getting toned again. But definitely you guys see Jessiboo as this girl who's confident, always wearing like the outfits and the glam. But behind the scenes, it's this girl who's just trying to get toned up, have weight loss. So I just want to tell you guys, just throw on the outfits, be positive, show you guys like so much self-love, and just keep pushing. Don't care what other people say. If you care what other people say, they're going to put like a hold on your goals. You have to definitely keep striving. I know that there's girls out there that are body self-conscious, or they don't like this thing about them, or their nose is too big, or they're short or not confident, or whatever the case may be. Definitely. So definitely seek the healthy habits. Fulfill yourself with things and the environment and the people that are going to be beneficial to you. And I promise you, if you are okay and if you're filling up your own cup, everything else around you is going to basically align with you in a very positive manner. So I hope I'm here, to inspire you guys to continue to push. You guys see, this social media influencer, but I also have my own insecurities. One of them being, like I just talked about, my weight, which might be shocking to some of you guys. But definitely continue to push through those barriers, and, always work to being like the best version of yourself.